Cool. I'm Sam. I'm the co-founder and CPO at Artisan. We make AI employees. The first one is an AI BDR called Ava, and she automates outbound sales for you.
Everyone, this is Jerry Lee. I'm the CEO of LiveX AI. We build human-like AI agents for D2C enterprises for growth and retention. Really nice to have you here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Atul. I'm from Hyperbound. We build the AI Sales Performance OS. At a high level, that means we listen to all your sales calls, understand why top performers are performing better than bottom performers, and put bottom performers in dedicated practice environments to help them match what top performers are doing out in the field.
Hi, I'm Yuchen. I'm the founder and CEO of Mai. We build AI agents that help every business grow with the power of AI and data.
So each of you chose to build different agents in your spaces. What do you see is changing in the market with agents now from like 2 years ago even?
I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing is like the technology's been more effective. So when we started building, a lot of the LLMs couldn't generate the emails that we needed to come up with. And just like the progress that we've had with the models in the past 2 years has been insane. And we're getting a lot of outputs that are much better than humans could write themselves. I think that's the biggest one for us.
I think in our use cases that we do see business are embracing AI agents more and more, and there are a lot of critical customer and user engagement touch points that they want to automate and using AI to handle that instead of human. And the other part is really about the physical world AI deployments right now is ramping up.
I'd say from a business perspective, there are essentially 2 generations of agents. The first were agents, and this also tracks with the development of language models over time. The first generation of agents were automating simple rote tasks that humans were already doing. The easiest ROI case ever for a new startup entering the market to replace an existing task and say, hey, we're just taking cost off of your hands. The latest generation of agents, the more exciting ones today that are powered by these longer context, cheaper models that are coming out in the field, these are the ones that are ingesting a volume of data at an order of magnitude that humans couldn't process. So we're leaving the space of replacing direct human capability to a world of pseudo-superhuman capability. And there's a lot of value to be unlocked there.
Yeah, I think we're seeing the same thing. I think the market is becoming a lot more sophisticated in terms of understanding what agents really are. I think 2 years ago, agents are some fancy tools where you use LLM to kind of just be something simple. I think we are increasingly seeing people embracing agent not just as a replacement of something existing, but offering new capabilities that weren't just not there before. And this really pushes technology forward in terms of building something new here.
So each of you had to pick your target ICP and your segment. Tell me a little bit about which segment did you pick, why, and how did you decide that?
Yeah, so we've been fortunate to have a really strong market pool from the beginning with startups, mid-market, enterprise, pretty much everyone, because everyone wants an AI employee, which kind of makes sense. But I think the ones that it works the best for in our case has been mid-market and enterprise. So that's just where our product is most effective. So I guess our ICP sort of picked us.
In our cases is that, we have 2 different segments. One is really the established late stage company enterprises. Another one is really the early stage AI startups. Actually, I do have a lot of our company customers here joining this meeting today. So we're working both really fast moving AI startups and also late stage company to help them to using AI agents to do the engagement with the customer so that to achieve faster growth and a better retention rate.
In our sense, sales coaching is a complex low signal problem. What that means is that there is a lot of noise out on what is good practice, what is bad. In fact, even most sales leaders won't be able to tell you what good looks like on a sales call. For us, what that means is we need a lot of data to be able to provide superhuman insights. And that means our ICP also skews upper mid-market enterprise. So for us, we hit a happy state when we end up with more than 500 salespeople in an org. But when we become truly comfortable and become completely irreplaceable, is when we have 20,000 plus salespeople in an org, like some of our customers.
Yeah, for us, the key insight is, bigger enterprises over the past couple of decades have enjoyed the ability to develop proprietary solutions for a lot of things that they do, especially when it comes to growth. And they have hundreds of engineers building custom software using their own custom data to optimize for whatever that works for their own growth. And when we look at the industry when it comes to performance marketing and growth, smaller and medium-sized players start to have a lot of data, right? So if you look at the past 20 years, one of the best things that have happened for them are SaaS software. So if you walk into a coffee shop, today's coffee shop is very different than 20 years ago, where they have access to all your credit card information, they know who you are, they know what you've ordered before, except that all of that data sits somewhere in the cloud, and they don't have the resources to look at them and turn this into better customer experience and growth for them. And this is where we come in and say, hey, can we build an AI agent that really bring the world's best data science and ML technology to everybody and help them grow better? So that really pushes us toward mid-market and smaller businesses.
I have a question for the audience. How many of you are founders in the audience? Okay, good stuff. Okay. For this one, where do you meet your ICP? How do you think about your go-to-market playbook and where you find your customers?
Yeah, so our strategy from the beginning has been to kind of draw light to the conversation that's been the elephant in the room around humans and AI working together. So this is like a really scary topic for a lot of people that don't understand it. And so we've kind of played on that and put out some obnoxious billboards that say stop hiring humans just to get people upset about it. But it's like, really, we want to see how AI and humans can work together, and I think just drawing attention to that is something that we've used to our benefit. And ultimately, like there is a place for human creativity, obviously, and for humans to work with AI.
Yeah, in our use cases, actually, our company is taking an ABM approach, right? So I assume everybody knows what is ABM. Then essentially, we are finding our ICPs in events like this, local events, and or topic-centric like industry events. And also we're official partner of Google and NVIDIA. There is a partnership play, and we work very closely with our partners to go to market, co-sell, and yeah, that's how we find our ICPs.
So for us, there's three main ways that we land a customer. The first is inbound. In fact, we are still about 90% inbound driven. It's been a very strange spot to have enterprises, Fortune 10 companies come in inbound, but I think that's the nice part about the AI space. If you build the solution people want, they truly will come. So that's one. The second is conferences. We invest heavily in conferences. It generates that word of mouth that helps drive that inbound. So I'd say the conferences really help us get the name out there, especially get the brand recognition with some of these traditional industries who aren't looking for AI players. And I'd say the third piece that matters a lot to us in particular is channel partners. So very unusually for a startup at our stage, we have a lot of channel partners. The folks who would traditionally command the budget that we would go for, that we are in some sense replacing, are partnering with us and pulling us into their accounts. So.
Yeah, I really agree with the point around building software that actually works. One of the biggest benefits of working for mid-market is that there are a lot of them. We serve, for example, e-commerce merchants on Shopify, and there are over 2 million of them, right? So there are a lot of them. And if you go to them and say, hey, do you want to use AI? All of them raise their hands. And if you say, do you want to increase your productivity? Do you want to grow faster with technology? All of them say yes. So really the thing that worked for us in terms of meeting the customer is meeting their needs. And the best way to do that is to build a technology and product that really works.
I love that theme. So many of you mentioned that. At HubSpot, we're building the same thing, but really there's so much hype in AI. And if you're not landing like software that works and like customer value in your core case, it's super hard to be delivering value. Jerry and Atul, you both mentioned partnerships as part of your plan. Talk to us a little bit more, like how did you decide to go for a partnership strategy? And then what did you do to build that partnership strategy? And anyone's welcome to take it too.
We stumbled into it. It was more of an accident than anything, and now it's a core focus of our strategy. These partners were coming to us. They knew that this technology posed a serious threat to their business model in the long run. That there's a real risk that, hey, our platform will replace a sales consultancy in the future. So from their perspective, it makes a lot more sense to partner with the leading sales coach in the market and become a distributor of that because they already have all the relationships required. They know how to sell our product even better than we do, right? They've been doing it for 25 years. So the value props are exactly the same. The mechanism is slightly different. So from that perspective, it really unlocked many doors into large traditional industries, things like the logistics and the pharmaceutical space that a company with 18-month vintage would have a very, very difficult time breaking into. So yeah, channel partners, big part of our, I'd say, reputation growth strategy as well as breaking into these larger accounts.
In our use cases that we are selling to enterprises, and the one of the most difficult thing for a startup selling to enterprise is trust. How you can build the trust early, that's very important. So by partnering with big names in the market or like established channel players in the market, help us to build the trust early. You go and co-sell with them, actually present together to the customers that will add a lot of value for you, your brand, and to build the trust at the beginning. That's one thing. And second thing is that we actually rely on our partnerships to expand it to the other part of the world. We are focusing on the United States, and our whole team is in the United States. And we don't have sales channel, we don't have support, in the other region of the world. So kind of rely on them, the channel partners, to help us, to help them.
What are the hardest challenges you feel like you're facing right now?
Well, if I'll be honest, I was outside this conference on the phone trying to solve one of them. So maybe I can start there. One interesting piece about AI companies in particular is that post-sales just became way harder, right? We're now putting engineers in post-sales roles more than ever before. I mean, this started to become an issue with the cloud era when especially these infrastructure providers were exposing a lot to their direct customers. But now, especially for folks like us who sell to non-technical buyers, the challenge of post-sales has become, I would say, that much more complex. The traditional customer success manager is not sufficient in our case, but putting a solutions engineer in place also doesn't work because they don't have the sales capacity to drive an upsell or position a long-term account strategy. So what we have settled on is something called a commercial CSM or a full cycle AM. They also call it something like, I've heard companies call it a forward deployed AM, which feels crazy as well. But it's someone who has a couple of capacities. They both have a GRR responsibility, so they're responsible for retention. They're responsible for NRR as well, so they're responsible for growth, and they also hit an adoption target. Separately, you have a floating pool of technical junior solutions engineers, or in our case, junior solutions engineers, to come and support these team of AMs. So eliminating the CSM role, replacing it with something more technical, and moving AMs to have a broader account responsibility.
So in my company, I'm the CEO. I'm in charge of the product and business, and I think the biggest part is to really I'm engaging with customer day to day, and with new customers, existing customers. I think two big things in my top market that I need to focus every day is really the first thing is customer success. I think that's very, very important part because the enterprise deals, you build trust at early, and then you grow with them to expand to a much bigger deal. That's one thing, and spend a lot of time really on that. And because your customer are not technical, mainly you're dealing with business decision makers and or the people on the ground working using your products. So essentially, you get the customer feedbacks, and sometimes you need to educate them the new features and let them feel comfortable using it. I think the big part of the industry is that the early adopter is already fully embracing the AI, and the mass market is gradually picking up the usage. But the understanding of AI is different, the level. People from especially for example, like call center guys, they're afraid of AI. They want to push back for any adoption of AI inside their organization because of their headcount consideration. But from the leadership side, they want to embrace it. So as a vendor, you need to balance this, how to say, internal tension inside the enterprise, and then how to provide a balanced solution to them, have a phased approach to deploy AI solution inside the organization is very important.
Jerry, I guess to that one, that is such an interesting tension because people are afraid of losing their jobs, yet you do want it to be more efficient. So how do you all go into that?
That's a
you
very
have this
good question.
balance?
I think, definitely communication is a key, right? Just to let them change their mindset. It's not easy, but it's for them easy to understand, because whoever adopts AI first and then try to embrace AI into their day to day will eventually be successful in their job. And then for those are maybe replaced by AI, they should be shifted into some other positions, into, for example, better proactive customer support or proactive loyalty program, so that they can generate revenue for the company instead of like becoming like a burden or cost of the company balance sheet. So that's a mindset we're talking to the leadership. We're talking to the mid-level manager level people to make sure they fully understand that, and they have internal company how to say strategy to transform those who has been there for 10 years, 20 years, move them into a more successful job with AI as a tool.
Interesting.
Yeah, I want to add on to that one. I think like there's so much narrative out there in saying AI versus human, which creates a lot of that tension. Um, and we also walk into the space of performance marketing thinking, oh, are we replacing any folks? And how do we work with the teams? Especially if you think about our business, we sell it to the marketing department. And you just can't sell it to a department with a narrative saying that we're replacing your human labor. And it turns out that's far from truth. What has really happened, very early on when going deep with our customers, were that if you look at their day-to-days, it's very nuanced, right? So like in our case, we have marketers who really love doing the creative work, and they tell us that marketing started with a very creative process, right? So what they do is they create content, they help you product, they engage with their customers. It was up until recently where a lot of the computerish work comes in, right? So you have to wake up, you have to fiddle with all the tools. One of the interesting stat that one of our clients flagged to us is over the past 10, 15 years, SaaS for marketing has been growing 10 to 15% year over year. And the number of people in the job of using those tools also grow 10 to 15% year over year, right? So it's not replacing human. In fact, more work is created for them through those tools. Now, when we work with them, it turned out that like none of them enjoy doing the quote unquote computer work, or they want to go back to do creative work. And so AI actually become a really good companion, so that allows them to focus on what they are passionate about. So I think like just getting that nuance right of how AI can help them and what we are adding value to, versus allowing them to do things that they are passionate about, creates the positive momentum here.
Yeah, I agree. A deep believer in hybrid teams, which will be human and AI teams, where humans are kind of supercharged and become super generalists in a way, contributors, and then AI agents that do really help with digital work. So I don't know if you want to take your biggest challenge, Sam.
I think one of the big challenges is that instead of just being like traditional SaaS, where you're performing a function for customers with your software, with AI, you're doing something that's outcome based. So that's inherently a bigger challenge that you have to overcome, because you have to drive results for your customers. So That's something that's really important to us, but it's also a very big challenge to get that right with every different type of customer that you have.
I'm going to take that outcome one, and Clay talked about that this morning too. How does your outcomes drive your pricing strategy?
Yeah, so right now we're sales led. We do just like fixed contracts based on lead volume, but we're starting to experiment with outcome based pricing for some of our customers because that's kind of where we want to go in the future is making sure that our software is valuable for every single customer and they're getting as much out of it as possible.
How about everyone else? Like, how do you think about your pricing strategy? How did you set it? How did you go about thinking about what your first set would be charged?
Actually, for us, we have both volume-based pricing and ROI-based pricing. So we got to push back a little bit on the ROI-based pricing at the beginning because there's a, like what Clay said, there's a gray zone, right? Essentially, like for example, Intercom was the first one proposing that ROI-based pricing based on customer engagement, whether it's resolved or not resolved. But there is always a debating from the customer angle to say, from the AI engagement, looks like it's resolved. But somehow this customer called me behind the scene, right? And also write me email. So how, to well define the resolve, not resolve, I think it's an evolving story to go. And for my company is that, we are offering both pricing model to my customers, especially for those, that can see the ROI in 1 week, right? You essentially, after engagement, you do see the ROI. Either it's by making purchase or deflect the customer ticket or like save the customer from cancellation of their membership. Those are the things that we can have a clear pricing associated with the ROI. And for those, the rest of them, we typically give them a like a volume-based bundle based on credits. So it's easier for them to accept.
I'd say that outcome-based pricing does two things. One, it de-risks the customer in case things don't go well. And the second is that it adds risk to the customer in case things do go well. And that's the thing that we hear from our buyers all the time. In fact, outcome-based pricing can actually be closer to value, can actually be more expensive for the customer in the long run. However, if you're a fast-growing SaaS startup, you want fixed contracts so that you can go back to your investors and tell them, hey, I've signed this much ARR. And navigating that balance, what we found works the best for us is our customers already expect fixed contracts. If they are bought into the solution, they perceive a fixed contract as getting a discount as opposed to outcome-based pricing. Like fixed pricing also works better for us, in terms of like going seat-based. That's what I mean by fixed. Still also works better for us in terms of our fundraising and our growth. So on those veins, we've decided to stick with seat-based for the time being, just because outcome-based is actually perceived as a risk by our bought-in prospects. Interesting place to be.
Yeah, for us, it's easy. We operate in performance marketing, so you would know we fall in typically the sales cost line, which is has been outcome-based pricing since the beginning of time. So yeah, it's not a choice we have to make.
That's easy. Let's talk a little bit about velocity and then balancing trust or governance. It's probably an unfair trade-off, but how do you think about speed and when you need to think about governance, trust, security?
This one's interesting because if you've gone through like SOC 2 before and all these compliance things, like you know how this works. There's a lot of questions that are asked. Companies are very concerned. They know what to ask you. With AI, it's a little bit different because no one's really sure what to ask right now. So you'll get these really big enterprise customers that come in and they might not even bring up something that you know about that they should be asking. So that's been really interesting for me. But I think the way that we've handled it is just building guardrails around everything so that when those questions do come up later, that we're prepared for that.
Because we're selling to enterprise, so essentially the security compliance are really, really important aspect of it. It's not only a checkbox. I think we believe it's a cornerstone of any enterprise AI offering. Interestingly enough, my co-founder and CTO, who is not here today, but he came from a security industry. He was building anti-bots at that time, but now he's building bots. Okay, and then So for us, is really when we build a company, we know there are three most important things, like cornerstones for my company value. One is innovation, one is security, and another one is customer success. Only those three things are the most thing that we want to pursue and push forward. In terms of like all those compliances, we did way more than that because we want to make sure ourselves are top-notch security and level. So we did like almost like 3 penetration tests this year alone to make sure our platform is secure and offer to our customers the best environment they can operate on.
I'm kind of curious. Does anyone here have ISO 42001? Has anyone here heard of ISO 42001? Yeah. Okay. So for us, we're a small company selling to enterprises, right? And trust is everything. It's very, very hard to win trust in that scenario. So some of the things that we did that were against the grain that slowed down our product development just a little bit, but unlocked a lot of ARR for us was hiring a CISO as one of our earliest employees. One of our earliest, so one of the top 7 employees, we have a CISO on the team. We also went out of our way to go through and satisfy every enterprise security requirement. We did not want to be a blocker. We did not want procurement to be the blocker in our growth. So we went and got ISO 27001. We got SOC 2 Type 2. We went and self-attested to several further frameworks and are in the process of some of the AI forward frameworks, things that procurement teams are just now being taught they need to ask, like ISO 42001. So yeah, I'd say that just being ahead, it's an investment, absolutely. It's a cost. But compared, if you have a similar ICP to us, it makes a lot more sense to invest early because you're going to have to do it anyway. It's not like you can get away with not having this in 2 or 3 years. It's an eventual cost, and it makes more sense to get it done early and enable your sales team.
Yeah, I agree. I love to hear the word CISO. And we're a very engineering centric team, so we treat these trade-off questions as a challenge to find solutions, and we found one. If you search for, if anyone's looking for a CISO, there's something called vCISO, which is a virtual CISO, and you don't have to hire one. You can just hire a fraction of them. They solve most of your problems, and and then you don't have to do the trade-off, right? So you have someone who take care of that for you.
Yeah, that's what we did as well.
Interesting. We're talking about how the market has progressed over the last 2 years and technology has just made bounds. Like, what kind of predictions do you have for agents in like 18 months or the market?
I think in 18 months, we'll have basically AI employees for every entry-level knowledge work position that we have. So right now, everyone's focused on like sales is a big one. Obviously, that's one that we're focused on at the moment. But I think this will just kind of propagate to every other job function as well. Yeah, that's my prediction.
I think from business side, every enterprise or business will have their AI agents, both internally facing and externally facing. I wouldn't expect, I would expect probably less than 50% of the company does not have a advanced AI agents by that time. But I do also see that because of the general to consumer apps or AI apps, the barrier is lower and lower. So essentially, everyone can build their to consumer apps with their creativities using tools. I think we are seeing more and more consumer facing applications going to be in the next 2 years coming.
I think we're exiting the era of a system of record being important, and we're moving to the era of a system of action being important. So what do I mean by that? Right, the platform where all of your data is stored is valuable, but what is even more valuable in this era of agents is the layer that plugs in on top of your system of record and is able to manage these workflows. So I believe that the next big genre of AI company, and you're already starting to see this today, is the agentic workflow builder. It's the platform that builds, maintains, and orchestrates your workflows. And you can see a lot of AI companies, including some of us on stage, including HubSpot, moving into that space because, I think that's the next big thing to come in the agentic world.
Yeah, I think you guys covered. I think the most exciting thing that has happened with every technology shift is it redefines the business workflow, right? It just, it doesn't merely just make a small thing more efficient. Like for example, like with HubSpot, completely changes how you deal with, CRMs and so on. I think AI agents today, there are a lot of hype and a lot of tools out there are still at the stage of, oh, let's take a small thing and make it a bit more efficient. Let's, let's build tool faster and let's use the small capability of AIM. I think over time, we're going to see like entire business operation will just operate differently because you have AI agents, right? So I think like that's going to happen. And because every human is going to be more efficient, they do different things. And I think that will transform a lot of the business flows out there.
We were touching on this topic of humans will still kind of be there, creativity, taste. How do you think about human in the loop? Or how do you think about designing for this together, human and AI?
So when we first launched, basically, just for some context, we generate emails for our customers. When we first launched, they wanted to read every email because there was very little trust there. They weren't really sure about it. But like 2 years later, we're seeing that people don't really care as much now. They have that trust, so they're kind of just letting go of that. I think as we go along, each different thing that's in the workflow, they're gonna customers are going to build trust around, and then they won't worry about it too much. So I think longer down the road, it's going to be less important.
For us, is that the human in the enterprise side is still be valuable, very valuable. I think because they have been in the business for a long time, and as AI, you can treat AI as a new hire of the business. So the AI need to continue evolving and being coached by the senior people. But I do see there should be a change or a shift that the human in the company or enterprises should be able to supervise like 20, 30 AI agents simultaneously working for them. It's like similar to early stage of self-driving, right? Someone is behind the monitors and watching the AI doing their job, and AI will raise their hand for to get feedbacks from the supervisor, which is human. I think that will be the part of the involvement in terms of a human involvement.
Yeah, I see human in the loop somewhat as a advanced labeling job, right? So the way that all of these models are trained under the hood, if you go back to the core fundamentals of machine learning is, hey, we provide a labeled data set, and the machine learns from the labeled data set on what to do. And when we aren't sure what the labels are, well, we'll have the machine guess and a human correct it. That's what human in the loop originally started as before it started actually getting deployed into production in human in the loop systems where a human was checking the AI's work. So in the long run, even in the enterprise space, I see human in the loop as something that will be replaced, especially as models get better at explaining themselves, at following guidelines, at following rules. So yeah, it's a nice transitory period that comforts a lot of these companies that require high trust to take the leap into using an AI system.
We talked a little bit earlier, just multi-agent orchestration. Like how do you, Sam, for you all, you had one agent and you're about to do two more. How do you think about breaking work down across them? Is it one agent that kind of understands everything architecturally underneath? Is it calling other agents? How do you think about that scope of agent work?
Yeah, so Ava basically is multiple agents in one. So there's different tasks that are getting executed. So one of them is finding leads, finding who your ICP should be, testing that, and then giving you feedback on that, basically. The second one is researching those leads, so scraping them on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. And then the last step is kind of emailing them and kind of closing the loop out there. So yeah, I think each of our agents will be multiple agents built into one ultimately.
So inside our architecture, we have multi-agents to handle different jobs, and I think essentially the optimization goal is to how to help the consumer or customer resolve the issue. No matter what they're asking for. the customer can, on the phone call, can be going back and forth, talk about different things. But the end goal is how to architecture your multi-agent framework to achieve that as the end goal. Interesting enough, our company is an early design partner for Google A2A. So essentially, internally we have a lot of investigation, design, and to optimize this. I think it's still ongoing efforts. Nobody knows what the final answer will be, but we're optimizing the resolution in terms of that.
Yeah, this is a very, very interesting topic. I mean, the multi-agent workflows unlock a lot more than what a single fixed task or fixed length, fixed computation agent was able to do in the past. How we're going to orchestrate that is to be seen. I mean, we have our theories. What we do is we have an orchestrator agent that sits on top of other agents. I'm really curious to see where the space will converge on this. Maybe there are multiple answers.
I think there are two interpretations of multi-agents, right? So there's multi-agents that you organize and make that part of your software. I think that's kind of a fake concept, right? So it's just like we don't talk about multi-function software, right? Like you by definition solve a custom problem, you build whatever that's needed. There's a much more interesting concept of multi-agent, which is you end up having to build agents that work with other companies' agents. And like, for example, we talk about consumer agents that buy stuff for you online. And today, these consumer agents will go to a web browser and buy from a static interface. Imagine a future where those consumer agents end up having to interact with a business agent and negotiate and talk about and share information and come up with a good solution for the customer, right? And I think that will require a unique new interface. And I think we're still very, very early in terms of that conversation, but that's super exciting to see that evolve.
Yeah, I think multi-agent and this interface is going to change a lot. Actually, just to the interface, how do you think interfaces are going to change, especially with how people work with agents?
We're building our product in a way that humans can use it, but then also agents can use it. So we're building an MCP on top of all the API services that we have, so that our agents can use the software, and then also so if we wanted to expose an API so that other companies could access that as well. That's how we're designing it from the beginning. I think we don't know how it's going to work in the future, so I think it's important to design it in a flexible way.
I think there are two definitions of the interface. One is really the API level or MCP, ACA level of interfacing. Another interface is about the UI UX interface, right? So essentially, for the general consumers or public-facing ones, there is an elderly group of people still prefer to call, right? Nowadays, younger people prefer to have a chat, chatbots, text in, text out. So there is a slowing change because of your age group based on their past behaviors. But in my company, we're investing heavily into multimodalities, not only through conversational interfaces, but also through a voice interface, and also through the avatar, interactive avatar interface that we see is coming.
I agree with both of you. So let me provide a different perspective on interface. So another interface that B2B buyers commonly contend with is, hey, I need to book a sales call in order to purchase a specific product, right? This is like the most traditional form of interfacing with a company in order to purchase something. And the reason is that there's so much complexity in whatever they're selling that a PLG motion isn't viable. Usually that's the reason. I believe that is going to change. So I believe that we're going to see a lot more PLG, even when purchasing, even when doing enterprise sales. There obviously is going to be the top tier of enterprise sales, like tens of millions dollar contracts where that doesn't remain the case. But yeah, I think we're going to see a proliferation of a new web-based agentic format that gives you all the information you might otherwise need as a buyer for those processes.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking about interfaces. Before starting I've been building software for over a decade. And every piece of software, you have an important component called UX research, right? So, and that entire area originates from this discipline called HCI, right? It's called human-computer interface. And the premise of that area is you have a human and a computer, like a human needs to use the computer. And then you have this whole area of how to design the interface so that a human can use it. And when we started that question just struck in my head of what is HCI in the era of agents? Because the whole point is you don't want human to use the computer anymore. You want a computer to do most of the job. So a concept like a button becomes more controversial, right? Because if a computer can click a button itself, why do you design a button? Because a human, right? And so we start very early on rethinking what is the right interface. And we don't have an answer. I think the entire industry is going to see where these things evolve. But where we think it's going to head is the interface becomes a lot more high level, right? So instead of thinking about a button, I think the interaction becomes a lot more high level, it becomes a lot more strategic, right? So I think we're going to see conversations like, hey, here's the business goal that my company want to achieve, so that the agent will come and translate that into things that it would do for you, versus translating that into a set of buttons. And I think these are the kind of UX evolutions that we'll see over time.
That's super interesting. If you were going to leave the audience with just one takeaway today, what would it be?
I think this is inevitable that all these job functions are going to have AI built into them, and you basically have to get on the wagon, otherwise you're going to fall behind. But I think something that's really important is that human creativity is still super important, like one of the most valuable things that we have. So I think, yeah, there's really a big space for humans and AI to work together.
I think if you're trying to sell to enterprise AI, I think my suggestion for your go-to-market is to try to find one, because the go-to-market ways will change, evolve over time. But find the one that can help you build the trust early, like in the first meeting, then you have this personal bonding relationship with enterprise buyers. That's the most important, I think,
I'd say my advice is that everything in the space now moves 10 times faster than it did in 2018. So keep your ear to the ground and stay very alert, right? I'd say that from a strategic perspective, it's a lot more important to go out to these conferences, to go listen to folks, to be consuming media from your peers in the space on how they see the world changing, because it's changing much faster than ever, and we need the community to help us with that.
Yeah, I would just add one thing similar to what Sam said. I was standing in front of a Picasso painting in a museum recently, and one question that struck in my head is will computer generate that, or will a human do that? And I think the conclusion, is increasingly that we still need human to produce that original creativity. And then the question becomes how agent make it easier and better and faster. And I think it's going to be exciting in the future.
Yeah, exciting future. Well, thank you all.